Welcome to the Pineapple Perspective. This show is usually hosted by Troy Hooper, and that's me. So today you get me again and again and again. This show is also always sponsored by Pepper Lunch Restaurants. Pepper Lunch Restaurants, plural.com/franchise if you're a multi-unit franchisee, maybe even a multi-brand franchisee, looking for a simpler life, producing greater returns for less effort. That's the first time I've pitched it that way, and I think it's about as clean and clear as it gets, right, Matt?
I think so. The real question was, who else would be hosting the Pineapple?
I don't know if you talk to, I've seen some guest hosts on some other shows, maybe this gentleman, Matt Wampler, ladies and gentlemen.
Look, I'm ready to run the Pineapple Perspective. Put me in, Coach.
You're in. You can have it, at least for a show. All right, folks, Matt Wampler, he's kind of known for his pretty stylish hair and usually wearing a ball cap. He's always in all black with a little smattering of white. This is the uniform he has selected for the rest of his life because he's stuck with it now. Matt, welcome to the show.
I'd like to think that I inspired the Pepper Lunch changing over to black and white for all of you that are on video.
Well, I'm on gray and white today, but yes, there's a lot of black and white. I just ordered more shirts. They're black and white striped with the Pepper Lunch logo on. How you like that?
Well, Troy, it looks good, and I'm honored to be here. Thanks for having me.
All right, Matt, before we get into who you are, where you come from, what you're up to, tell the world what hospitality means to you.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, hospitality to me is how you feel, when you're at an establishment. What's the feeling you're left with?
That's pretty simple. That's pretty straightforward. Hey, Matt, where did you come up with that? Why do you think it's the way you feel as a guest or a customer?
It's funny. I had listened to your podcast, and I remember when you first came out, you asking this question. And it kind of resonated with me because I didn't have a good answer. And, one day, 8-9 months ago, I took my daughter to Duck Donuts on her birthday. And we love Duck Donuts. It's a great donut. It's warm. It's crisp. It's my favorite donut place. But on that day, it was her birthday. And the lady asked, is there anything special? And she said, it's my birthday. And she made her feel incredible. She asked her about her day and what her plans were. Implied that the birthday or the donut that she was making was for her birthday and even gave her a sticker. And fundamentally, that changed her day. I think if you asked her that day, what was the best part about your birthday? She would have said going to Duck Donuts. And, I guarantee you that when she wakes up on her birthday this year, she's going to want to go to Duck Donuts because of that feeling. And again, the donut's great, but that's not what she remembers. She remembers that she felt special and seen.
Look, they made a big mistake for my waistline, but a good business decision to open a third Chick-fil-A inside of 2 miles of my house. This morning, the girls at the window, recognizing me, that's not hard to imagine, told me to please tell Erin they said hi. Erin's my wife. They realized about 3 or 4 days ago that who my wife was because the order came up in my name, but she picked it up. And she picked it up in one of our cars, which I drive a lot. And so they put 2 and 2 together and they realized it was my wife. And they had this lovely side chat, apparently, because they said how lovely my wife was to me today, which I'm used to. That's a very common statement. And then as I was getting ready to pull away, she goes, tell Erin we said hi. They not only remembered she was my wife, connected her to the person they know, but they actually remembered her name as well. And that was the first time they made the connection. So pretty remarkable paying attention. Kind of expected from Chick-fil-A, but come on, at the end of the day, still a little bit over the top.
I mean, that's above and beyond. And you remember it. I mean, it's impactful in your life. So I got a question for you. You've done, 50 of these shows. What show number are we on?
60-ish.
60-ish. I always feel like everyone's got a perspective on what hospitality is. But, you've listened to this from 60 different people. How do you take that information and actually put it into Pepper Lunch?
Well, Matt, just a friendly reminder, this is my show. What are you asking me questions over here? Matt's already interviewing for the role, don't you have your own show? If you don't, you should definitely get one.
I do. It comes out next month. But I'm genuinely curious. I mean, you've got all the knowledge. It's always hard to put it to practice. So
we got to remember every day. The hard part is actually remembering to apply it, right? It's waking up with a list of things to do, problems to solve, people to talk to, people to encourage, tools to give as resource. There's always that list. and it's very easy to get up and put out fires and crank the wheels and turn the gears, right? The hard part is stopping and taking that moment, recognizing those opportunities in the moment with employees, particularly. They're not my employees, they're my franchisees' employees, but recognizing and acknowledging them, giving them a high five, pulling them aside and telling them why something really matters. And please have a good pay attention to that, whatever. Particularly customers, right? It's really easy to just watch people eat food in your restaurant and not really take the time to go talk to them. So, I definitely try to jump in there. I love to be at the hospitality host position, that greeter position we have now with our kiosk. But also, like, when I see groups of people, particularly, we're an Asian concept, well known in Asia. Most of our guests in a lot of our stores today in the US, still a heavy Asian population coming to enjoy our food, which is great. But whenever I see groups of people that don't have an Asian person introducing the brand to them, which is very common, a group of 3, 4, 5 people that don't have anybody that table that is Asian, I immediately walk up to them. I'm curious. Hey guys, welcome. How's your meal? How's it going? Hey, just wanted to ask you, most of our guests are introduced by an Asian person or enjoy the meal with an Asian friend or colleague. How did you find out about us? And I'm always excited when it's not that our Asian colleague, friend, or spouse brought us here, and now it's I found you on Instagram, or a friend told us, or those kinds of things. So you got to get in there and you got to have those conversations, and you got to open the aperture a little bit. You got to sit back, you got to take in some observation and think through it a little bit, rather than just show up, go through the checklist, get out. Right?
Yeah, it's more than just the product.
Absolutely.
You serve a great product, but you got to go above and beyond to make somebody feel like they belong.
And I think that's where a lot of brands lost their way. I mean, I grew up going to TGI Fridays on Friday or even Saturday, and it was a great experience. It was very experiential. It was very connective. It was an interesting environment. It was loud music. It was jovial bar scene, whatever. And then to see a brand like that, or many of the others that are struggling today or going away, you just ask yourself, how did they lose their way, right? It's losing that connection to your identity and your reason and your why. All right, no more questions from you, sir. Here we go. Let's introduce Matt Wampler, everybody. Matt Wampler is a lifetime hospitality guy. He was a longtime franchisee of the Jimmy John's franchise system, a sandwich guy, fellow sandwich guy, a big sandwich fan myself. But he found his way to forming a company a few years ago called ClearCOGS. Matt, give us a little history, give us a little bio, give us a little background on who's Matt, where is he from, how did he get from there to here, and give us the highlights in between.
Yeah, I mean, I think like most restaurant owners, I just kind of found my way into it. I was getting out of college and stumbled upon a Jimmy John's franchisee that had run it into the ground and needed out from the personal guarantees. And all the smart franchisees said, well, this is a disaster. I don't want to buy that store. And so the young, naive 21-year-old got the opportunity to own a sandwich franchise. And it was it's like literally watching the first episode of The Bear. It was all of that, except for I was a high school, college, slight delinquent coming into it. But no, it was a great learning experience. It's great to go do in your early 20s. I walked in and, all you get hit with is the smell of the grease trap. The air conditioning's out. They've got ice buckets on top of the cold table compressors to keep them from overheating. I think there was like 3 employees when I took over. And so, it was work 120 hours a week and sleep in the back of the store floor. And, slowly but surely you do the right things and it starts to turn around. You start to remember customers' names and orders and, deliver that fast, flawless service. And all of a sudden, you wake up 18 months later, and I think we'd taken it from 400,000 to 1.2 million, and we're off to the races.
That's awesome. Great story. So where did you get to hear from, though? You did that for a while, at 10 years or something? And you get bored of making sandwiches every day? Like, what, connect the dots to to hear.
Yeah, we all have different seasons in our life. That was the season of being young, married, no kids, just work 120 hours a week and, do whatever you need to do. And, I woke up at a different point in my life where I had young children, was married, and all of the stresses of a restaurant. They're on the nights and weekends and, missing dinners with the family. And I just said, you know what, this is a time for me to take a break. And I went back and went to grad school. And always had thought that I'd get back into the restaurant industry. Specifically, I thought I was going to be a Jimmy John's franchisees and I was just going to move markets. And, I kind of realized that the thing that made me successful as a Jimmy John's franchisee was the fact that, I followed the playbook. 95% of the stuff was in the playbook. So wake up every day and execute the playbook. In grad school, I kind of realized the thing I love is the 5% of stuff that's not in the playbook. And if I could get to go spend even half my time reinventing the playbook or, getting to deal with some of those areas that weren't defined, that's really what brought me passion.
Fantastic. So you decided to be a tech entrepreneur.
Yeah, kind of. I went off and did medical device innovation for a couple of years, but it was later. I found my way into like programming and data science. And you kind of realized pretty quickly, looking back on it, I was running a multi-million-dollar organization with hundreds of employees. We basically ran the entire thing on Excel spreadsheets and guessing. I stumbled my way into programming, and you just see how powerful technology has gotten and how far that is from what we're actually using in restaurants. So I called up my now co-founder and said, I think there might be an opportunity to bring technology to restaurants in a new way that would be helpful. And we sat down with, I think, 50 brands and just talked out what their problems were. And every one of them, if you just asked why enough, came down to the same problem. Most restaurants just don't know who's going to walk in the door tomorrow. And as a result, they make inefficient decisions around what to order, what to prep, and who to staff. And so fundamentally, we formed ClearCOGS to be a demand forecasting company, synthesize all of the data a restaurant has, POS data, weather, events, and synthesize it down into those key answers that restaurants need. It's simple answers. How many bagels do I need to bake today? How many need to be everything versus, poppy seed? If I'm a barbecue restaurant, how many briskets do I smoke today so that I don't run out tomorrow, but I limit my waste? Those little things, if you can get those right, they add up to the difference between not making any money and going out of business or a really healthy profit margin.
First two things every prospect franchisee asks me when they're looking at Pepper Lunch: what's your food cost? What's your labor cost? What's your percentages, right? There, you've just outlined the connection between all of them, because most people don't realize that a vast, heavy burden of your labor is your prep labor in most restaurants. It's sort of that dark labor that you just don't see because it's not directly obvious that it's serving guests. But if they don't do that, then the things you need to actually serve the guests don't exist. So prep labor, going back to actual prep product, which is waste and mitigation, waste and shrink. You get shrink when you're slicing, dicing, boiling down, marinating things, etc., all the way back to even over or ordering correctly, right? We were out of 80. If you 86 something, you can't sell it. And if you can't sell it, you can't make money with that, right? And so you have to order enough. But then if you order too much and 3-4 days from now, a part of that batch goes bad. I've seen it recently in one of our stores. The sliced carrots went bad and the green chives went bad because, they over ordered on the front end. And so I really appreciate what you're talking about, because I think it's really critical, right? Up until the point of actual production. What is this Tuesday like every Tuesday? And why was that one Tuesday different, right?
Well, it's something I really respect about you guys and Pepper Lunch. I look back at my days at Jimmy John's and, our product in a lot of ways was built on cheap labor. 4 people are going to make your sandwich. 1 person is going to deliver that sandwich to that person. And that worked at a $7.25 minimum wage. But it doesn't necessarily work in the new world we live in with higher food cost and higher labor cost and increased regulatory. And so when you look at new concepts like yours that have come out and really found a way to design a brand around the modern day economy, that goes a long way.
Yeah, no, it's I always say that we were built 30 years ago for the problem today, or today's problems. It's always been great, but now it really matters, right? Where we can run a store with 4, 5, 6 people max and produce, 4, 5, 600 plates a day. At Irvine Spectrum, sometimes 700 plates a day. So, yeah, it's a unique concept and unique opportunity. But look, a lot of restaurants out there still have to prep. They still have too large of a menu, et cetera, et cetera. Let's talk about some of the things that you're finding. Tell us what ClearCOGS is, exactly what you do for your customer. And you kind of said that predictive analytics thing. Talk about that just a little bit so we understand it. And then give us some examples of some things you found. I mean, it's the thing I love talking to groups like you, where you have the global view, like however many brands you're working with, how many locations that represents. That's so many transactions every day. That's so many hours of labor every day that you get to see what's working, what's not working, when these decisions are made, what changes benefit the business. Talk to us a little bit about specifically how ClearCOGS is filling in that gap, and then give us some examples of what you're seeing on the benefit side.
Yeah, well, let's unpack it step by step. So every brand is different. There are different decisions in each brand that move the needle when it comes to profitability. Give an example of one from Jimmy John's, because that's my background. Everything is slinging sandwiches to me. We would bake bread all day, had a 4-hour shelf life. We were really pretty good at it. You'd do it by feel, but you'd run into this decision point every day. It's 2 hours prior to close. Can I shut the ovens off and start cleaning, or do I need to bake another cycle? And there's no playbook for this. We'd send our assistant managers outside and they'd look around and see if it's raining. Is there a line at the bar? Do I have a bunch of day old bread left over from yesterday? Maybe look at sales last week, and then they guess. But this was really more of an emotional guess. It was, I don't want to run out. I don't want people yelling at me. I don't want my boss mad at me. So they'd always overbake. What ClearCOGS does, our solution for that is, we're going to go pull in all of your historic data and look at how much bread you're using every 15 minutes. And mind you, I'm not saying sales, because we're not doing revenue. We're doing usage forecasting. How much actual bread are you using? And then, just like if you gave your general manager a day to figure this out, he would probably do this. He's going to go look at, how did weather affect, the usage of bread? Do we sell more when it's raining, or do we sell less? How does the day of the week, the time of the day, are we running a limited time offering? There's probably 20 to 30 different variables that play into this. So we bring in the data for all of those and use machine learning to basically auto weigh the things that are most important, not at the brand, but that individual location, for that individual item, all to figure out, at this store, at this time, 18 sticks of bread is the magic number. And again, that's just a Jimmy John's example. We've done this for all types of decisions. We've got a concept that's a fast casual QSR based out of commissaries. They've got to figure out, how much do we make in the commissary, and hub and spoke it out to all of the locations. They brought us in, literally the first location, first month, they saved $7,000. And it wasn't just one thing. It was getting the right amount of lettuce ordered so that it's not going bad while it's stored there. Getting the right amount of lettuce prepped, getting the right amount of lettuce to the right place. When you take care of the pennies, the dollars take care of themselves.
Yeah, that's absolutely fascinating. It's really interesting that the system can help dial it in to a point to see real significant dollars. I mean, we're not talking about $70. I mean, 700 people would probably be pretty excited to pay you a SaaS fee for. $7,000 is meaningful, big, meaningful money. I mean, that's multiple employees. That's a manager on an annualized basis. That's the profit that you probably weren't going to have, right? Like if you were at a 5% profit, did that just double your profit for the year, in that regard? So pretty fascinating.
Honestly, the magic doesn't happen by giving you an analytics platform that says this is what you may or may not sell tomorrow. Magic happens when you have a business objective you're trying to achieve. I want to reduce my stock out rate to once a quarter. I want to make sure that I, very rarely run out. And I'm okay with the amount of waste that I'm going to get every day as a result of that. It's that cost benefit analysis. When you describe the business objective that you're trying to achieve, the AI and optimization models, they can synthesize all the data down into just that single decision point. If your manager follows this number over the year, you're going to hit the end result.
So tell me, ClearCOGS has evolved quite a bit over the last couple of years as you've grown and had more brands ask for more things. So what kind of questions are people asking the system now? I think we talked, this predictive analytics was the basis, the foundation of it, but I know it's expanded. I know its knowledge base is expanded. So what kind of questions can we ask? What kind of interesting questions are people asking that are these one-off insights that aren't that sort of same formulaic day-to-day report that is automated?
Yeah, I think the two biggest things. So we started out in prep and production. What do I need to prep for the day? What do I need to have for shift change? Maybe that last 2 hours decision. The two big things that we're diving into right now and we're seeing from everybody is I need help on labor scheduling, and not just sales forecasting, but more granular. I need it's by sandwiches sold, or I need it by, I don't know, deliveries that we're going to take per hour, or by 15 minutes. So on the labor side, how do I make a smarter scheduling system, and how do I do it further in advance so that I'm, not running into labor law issues by changing frequently? The second one we're running into is the real-time production. How can I tell you every 15 minutes what my par level should be, or what I should be dropping into the fryer? Real-time updates to make sure that, my team is, always serving fresh product and I'm never expiring it.
That's pretty fascinating. So how are they getting those real-time updates if you're saying they're looking for it every 15 minutes? That's in the extreme case, that's a pretty often picture, but in a fast food environment, or you imagine a burgers or a fried chicken, that, okay, well, it takes X time to be prepared for that. Like for us, it's rice, right? We can't run out of rice. We can drop pasta pretty easy, but rice takes 20 minutes. So we got to be on that. And I'll tell you, our team knows that every bucket of rice is 35 orders. And so how many in line do we have? But sure, easily they drop one extra batch of rice. That clock is ticking the minute that rice is made for how long it's going to last. We only serve fresh, hot, moist, tasty rice, right? So how are you getting that information to us in those rapid increments?
So the larger brands that we're working with actually have a system already spec'd out, where they have architected their system, where they've got a KDS that they're powering, and they, typically are using like a 4-week moving average or something like that. That's not very accurate. And you're seeing a lot of franchisees pushing back. So for the larger brands, we're actually plugging into their existing infrastructure and nobody even knows they're using ClearCOGS. We're just powering that widget in the back end. For the smaller brands, and not smaller, but the ones that aren't building their own proprietary tech stack there, that's what I'm really excited about. So we just closed our seed round. We have a fresh round of capital to be developing. We're working with a number of KDS, kitchen display systems, to start powering those forecasting variables. I like to think of it as, you've got a KDS now. It might not be a smart KDS. How can we empower it to be a smart KDS display?
Yeah, with information sort of always available and action steps to be taken, or numbers to be aware of, to not allow for that subjective decision making, right? Subjective decision making about when to cut, when not to cut a server, or when to call somebody off, or when to make that extra batch, right? Those are, as you said, they are very intuitive driven and not always based in real data or true truth, right? They're just kind of how I feel. And then they don't realize what those variables are. So I think it's pretty interesting to see. Matt, what's the future of this AI driven world in the restaurant space? What do you think is coming that we need to be aware of? What should we be engaging with now beyond, say, a ClearCOGS type platform? But, just because you spend a lot of time with tech founders and you're in these spaces with a lot of tech coming and people pitching things to restaurants, if you were a franchisee or a franchisor, what's actionable? What's coming that we need to be getting our head wrapped around?
Well, I think first and foremost, the voice AI seems to be the hot button issue right now. Everyone's trying to figure out their voice AI strategy. And I think that it aligns very much with how I see the world of AI playing out. When you bring in an AI-based solution, nobody should know that it's AI. Great AI should operate in the background and not be at all visible to the customer. Voice AI is a good example. I might have a wonderful customer experience on the phone or through the drive-through. I had no idea I wasn't talking to a real person. I think from there, anywhere that there's, I'll put it this way. Nobody gets into restaurants because they love the cold analytics of it. No one likes doing paperwork. No one likes doing invoices. Nobody likes taking phone calls, and plugging in the orders. Any place that we can shift people towards being with people and focusing on the people side of the business and using AI to do those tasks that we do day in and day out, that's how I would look at AI.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's got to have utility, right? It's got to give me real meaningful insights or data, digestible data, actionable intelligence to say, this is what you should do and why. And then if we do it, it can analyze whether or not, what the performance of that suggestion was, right?
My greater hope with all of this is, everyone wants the all-in-one solution. And unfortunately, restaurants are so diverse that we all get a one-size-fits-all solution that's really not very good. I hope that AI brings a sort of personalization to these products so that individual companies are getting their own individual experience, because treating everybody as one monolithic restaurant just doesn't work.
Yeah, I'm living that at the moment. I can't say with who or what, but wanting to charge me for additional access to information that it's already there. Yeah, interesting sales cycle conversation, but anyhow, we'll leave that there.
Legacy providers aren't always the best at innovating, and I think that a lot of their infrastructure is set up in a way that makes it difficult. So as more companies that are AI first in a way start to be released, I think you'll see a lot more of that flexibility.
Yeah, I'd concur with that. I think I've been a part of developing and advising on the development of one, and I've speak to all of them, right? Everybody comes knocking, and I'm one of those guys that, okay, out of curiosity, what are you building? I mean, I talked to you over 2 years ago about what are you building? Keep telling me, keep showing me. There's a real difference there in the younger, scrappier, hungrier companies that now have tools. They're starting off at a different place, right? They're foundationally starting off from a new world situation with these other tools, and it shows. You feel it. Things move faster. They're more fluid. They're more, easy to understand and more intuitive, I think, in general. So,
but Troy, I just want to say something real quick. This is our industry as restaurants. We get a say of how it evolves. But if we don't exercise that say, it's always going to stay the same. The fact that you would make time for an early stage startup like us 2.5 years ago, when we were just trying to figure it out, that has paid such dividends, not only to our company, but to the industry as a whole. And I just want to say, you and others like you that are getting involved in the tech side of things and helping support these companies and where they grow does shape our industry. And, honestly, I will forever be thankful. I appreciate it. You've done something for not only us, but for the industry as a whole. And I hope more people will as well.
And the check's in the mail, as they say. No, thank you. I appreciate that. Look, it's double. It's not altruistic, but it serves all purposes, right? I want to be a first mover. I want to know what's coming. I want to know where we're going and who's getting us there. And I want to make sure they have the information they need. I literally just sent this text message right when we were coming on to a group that I, help advise and give insights to like that. And I was like, hey, you guys, it's a tool I'm using. I went in there to use it, and you changed something. Okay, that's cute. That's cool. Great. It does this. But you actually went backwards in the functionality. You made the UX or UI more interesting. You gave me some sort of ability I didn't have before. That's great. But when you did that, you left out some choice that I already had, and now it's less functional than it was. Just ask, just let us in. Just let us give you that feedback. Please don't push that stuff out without showing it to us first. So look, I get it. And nobody's ever going to accuse me of holding back on my opinions, my beliefs, my insights, my examples. And look, I don't know it all. I get shocked and surprised and blown away every day by companies like you guys who show us many new ways of thinking of things. But I have to live a certain reality every day, and that reality has needs. And if you're trying to service my needs, then let's collaborate. And that's how I view it, is if I help the companies do a better job or have more information or get earlier insights or get another perspective from me and hopefully a 10, 20, 30 other people, then they're going to accelerate faster. I'm going to get that tool. So it is selfish in that way that I'm going to get a better tool sooner and faster. And if I was first mover, great. The differentiating factor is there as well. But also, I just do want the industry to move quicker, be better, be more resilient, make more money. I'm kind of tired of talking about all the brands going out of business and all the mom and pops struggling and all the numbers changing and we all have the same damn problems, whether it's supply chain today or labor that's ongoing, or, it's like, can't we all just sort of work together? And I do think, there's tools, the Zooms of the world and the podcast explosion. There's just a lot more information in the last couple of years. I'm on multiple roundtable mastermind groups facilitated by different people. And so I'm hearing from a lot of CEOs, COOs, CIOs, CTOs, and they all, I don't care if you're, I swear to God, in a room with Chick-fil-A, Burger King, all three of the big pizza guys, bunch of big brands. And I sat in a room, they're all CTOs, CIOs. They all had the exact same problem. Whether they had 100 stores or 100,000 stores, it didn't matter. They all had the same problem. And they are all solving in a similar but differentiated way. Look, at the end of the day, you're right. We all need to pour in. We need to get together. We need to have these conversations. And we need to make sure that companies like yours have an open door. Like what do we want to resist you so that you struggle, so that you don't make it, so we don't get the benefit? Like, doesn't make sense to me.
Well, I'm sure you don't hear it often enough. So on behalf of all of the companies you've helped out along the way, thank you.
Yeah, that's very kind of you. All right, Matt, this is Act 3 of the podcast. This is the final section that we do every time. This is the infomercial opportunity. It's your chance to really tell us who and what ClearCOGS is, who and what it's for, and how to get a hold of you and learn more and get involved and benefit our business through ClearCOGS.
Yeah, look, running a restaurant's incredibly hard. It's hard enough as it is. It's hard to find great managers today more than ever. If we can come up with a systematic way to power what you prep, what you order, so that your team gets decisions right during the day, we'd love to speak with you. We love fast casual. We love QSR restaurants. Typically, we're adding percentage points to the bottom line of these brands. We're currently in something like 100 brands across 4 countries, ranging from regional chains to multi-billion-dollar publicly traded companies. And the last thing I'd leave you with is this: AI, predictive forecasting. This is all new. We're all going to enter this world in the next 10 years. So there are some small baby steps we can make, such as what to order and what to prep, that can start you down this road of embracing AI and seeing what results you can expect from it.
How do they get a hold of you?
You can reach out to sales@clearcogs.com. You can message me on LinkedIn. Our website's clearcogs.com. We're active on social media. We'd love to speak with you. I think you can actually set up a call on the website.
That's pretty fancy. Now, is that AI or is that just...
That is good old-fashioned, boring, takes you to
click, connect, go.
It's funny. We've actually been talking about it. I'd like to get a chatbot that's fully powered by AI on the website to answer these questions. I'm not sure if that is more hospitality because it gives you answers or not. We're kind of having the debate with that.
Look, if it has a name and an icon and an identifiable image, it could be a mascot. We need to get Pepe to come to life and start talking. I think the biggest challenge will be everybody deciding what Pepe's voice should sound like. So Pepe's the mascot of Pepper Lunch, which most people...
I'm aware. I've seen Pepe. It's quite a show.
Cute little fella, isn't he?
He's very cute.
Thank you so much for coming on the Pineapple Perspective. Thanks for all your insights. Thanks for building something that brings utility and value to the industry. Keep doing it. Keep building. Keep making it better. And we'll talk to you next time.
Troy, I appreciate you having me, and keep up supporting the industry. We need you.
Thank you for listening to the Pineapple Perspective. If you loved today's episode, leave a review and a 5-star rating. I look forward to welcoming you back next time.